Axial lists their base camp at $389.99. So $390 for the most basic SCX10 III, and we've got a video, we've got a whole series on this thing. We know it's good. And I rather thought they would cancel the old Deadbolt and move to the base camp as their entry-level model, but for $50 less, they'll still sell you one of these guys. You might be aware that this is the same Deadbolt that you know, but with upgraded Spectrum electronics. It's otherwise, I understand, largely the same model. So it's the same electronics package. This thing you might recall from our review, which is there if you haven't seen it, has smaller diameter links and all that. This guy, I think we're going to find uses plastic. So the question really today is the base camp worth the $50 more if you just want an entry-level new crawler from Axial? I'm honestly not sure. I need a knife. I haven't got a knife. Be right back. You know, I was expecting the SLT3 radio, which is what came with the base camp, but they've actually gone cheaper and smaller than ever. Still takes 4 AA's, but this is the SL2. So we have a 3-channel, I think it's the same 3-channel receiver in the little Deadbolt here. But this is interesting because everything is smaller. You may not know this if you're new to my channel, or even if you're not. I go out of my way to not learn about these things before I look at them myself, so I don't have any preconceived ideas. I've had a Deadbolt before. This feels small. Certainly the wheels are smaller. It says Nitto Trail Grapplers, and they're 1.9 by 4.7, so maybe it's just that they're more narrow. They feel small. And we've gone back to plastic links. But these are, well, they're still spaghetti, but they're maybe not quite as, I was going to say they're not as spaghetti as the good old SCX1, but yeah, they really are. That can be a good thing for longevity though. There are still heaps of the original SCX10 getting around. Even today, the ball links are shot, but the links are still good because these bend so they give and they take abuse all day long. They just don't break. It's got the same notchy mesh. This is, I think, typical of the AR44 diff. Like if you hold the drive shaft, or when you put this under pressure, there's a notchiness. Hear that? The mesh is almost never right with these, and I knew it wouldn't be, so I could show you fresh out of the box. I like that we've got light buckets ready to go. It's a pretty interior. And that's something you can say that this has that the base camp doesn't have. Ain't no interior here, it's all painted windows. Well, this still feels like a Deadbolt. You get your bag of plastics. We've got spare links, we've got a spare skid plate of all things. So you really can repair this thing. There's a fresh driver's helmet, unpainted. We've got replacement drive shafts, replacement links. Honestly, that's not too bad. Now, it's not the cheapest crawler around, but it's Axial's cheapest. We had a wheel tool, a bind plug, and the batteries for the radio. And I've never had this radio before. I've got a bunch of Spectrums now. You've got a throttle limiter, 50, 75, 100, steering, reverse, power on the back, and steering rate, so how far it goes to each end, which I think you can set individually. And steering trim, and that's it. Really basic. Feels good in the hand. It's probably, I don't know this, but it's probably the same mechanism as what's in the SLT3. This feels a bit cheaper, but it's still on the cheap end of premium. I've got a lot of worse radios up in my office there. On the whole, oh, and there's not much travel for reverse, but there's a lot more for forward, and that's acceptable. Radio's acceptable, and look, it's lightweight and small. That's nice. It'd be nice if it had a little loop there for just a lanyard or something, but we still have a 35 turn brushed 540 motor, so that hasn't changed, and it's still the 614 servo. You might remember now Horizon's got their hands around Armour as well as Axial, among others, and so we're used to seeing this servo. It's a common servo, not particularly fast, not particularly strong, but certainly better than Traxxas's entry level. It lasts better than that. That's absolutely what my testing's found. Hubcaps on all the wheels, pretty thin oil in the shocks, that's okay though. You can, even though they're plastic, there is you can preload them yourself. The collars can be wound down, and out of the box it looks balanced. It sits pretty nicely. We can even probably improve that approach angle by bringing that bumper in somewhat. You might have to get a hacksaw out and cut, but they've already got pre-drilled holes, I see, so you could probably cut back by at least one hole and move the whole thing in. So it looks like a good basic machine. That's what your $50 gets you. So it gets you metal links, metal shocks, and slightly nicer bumper and tires. That actually, I think the value is there cosmetically. Now the Deadbolt certainly has the heritage to do well. There are plenty of mods available for it, and we know this is a capable platform. What it's going to come down to for me is its performance though. We know this guy can do all 6 problems. Here's the video of the recent Ready to Run roundup I did, and this thing drove admirably well. These are really similar, but gee, could it be that the thinner tires are going to let it down? Could it be that the noodly links are actually a benefit? Because they can be sometimes in allowing additional movement more than what the suspension and geometry would allow. I'm honestly curious to find out. So what gosh, that's noodly. It actually looks like nice quality plastic. There's just a lot of flex built into it. I'm going to go and replace this with an XT60 so it fits my battery range. And then we're going to head over to the 6 problem course and just get this tested. I can't wait to find out. I've got my little 700 milliamp hour 3S. It's the same battery we test all our crawlers with. That's an XT30, but I've just got a little 30 to 60 adapter. You just solder the 2 connectors together and hit them with heat shrink, and then you're done. So, batteries are in this. We tap, oh, maybe hold. It's on. Connect. Done. 1, 2, 3 tells you how many cells. So if we just put a 2-cell battery in, you would have heard dit dit dit, but instead you heard dit 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 dit. They count the number of cells. Now that's hitting an endpoint. Never hurts to check endpoints. And there's more in it. Let's see. Oh no, there is more in it. That's about right. Now I haven't stuck any shims in the axle yet or anything like that, but I did tell you that it makes a funny clicking noise in reverse. So forward's fine, but reverse, it's already clicking and skipping gears. This is unfortunately common for the AR44 axles. So this does want shimming. We want to bring the pinion in closer. I'll have to take that apart and see what I can do, because you shouldn't have clicking out of the box like that. This is typical of all these axles. So the Base Camp, and in fact the entire SCX10 III family has this problem too. So it's not limited just to the Deadbolt. Something to be aware of. You can still abuse this though, it'll take it, but it's just worth being aware of. Right, body goes on pretty easily. It's just the 4 pins, line them up. This is just a little thing, but I always appreciate the pull tabs that Axial includes on the ends of these little pins. It is easier on the hands, on the fingers. 1 Deadbolt, ready for action. Let's hit the 6 problems. Now remember, the Base Camp did all 6. I genuinely don't know how we're going to go. I'm expecting we'll get at least 3 and hopefully more. Let's see what we can find out. Okay, problem 1. Now I've never driven this car before. The rubber is all new on this. It's a little faster than I'd like already, I can see that. Comes with a 35 turn motor. 45 turn I think might be a nice change for this. It might be just about the sweet spot. I am resting on experience saying that. I'm not just basing it on what I've driven so far, which is, again, the first time I've ever driven it. The rubber compound in these tyres is very nice. The steering angle is, as we know, quite good on the AR44s. Even though it's chassis mounted, you get a great range of steering on this. So I am a fan of these axles, apart from that shimming issue we were talking about. Little bit of body rub, that's fine. There's no overdrive or underdrive on this out of the box, but that is as tidy as it gets. Problem 1, no worries. And into problem 2. Traction is quite good. This problem tests that, especially at the entrance and right now as well. We're on the edge of failing here. I think we might have another run at that. It's a very lightweight feeling rig. It handles nicely, that's for sure. Oh, the servo's got ample torque. I think I'd like to see some more weight down low. And in this case, weighted wheels might be all you'd need to do. But it holds itself quite nicely. Although these tyres are thinner, I quite like them. Nitto Trail Grappler MT, the AX31565, and they're 1.9 by 4.7. And plastic hole shot wheels. Problem 2, neat and tidy. At this point, I'll say also that this radio, the SL2, it's quite comfy in the hand. I'm enjoying using it. I've got no comfort issues with it, which is good. And it is definitely lightweight. Okay, into problem 3. Now I wondered about the approach angle here on this, but the bumper hasn't touched anything so far. I think you'd still move it back. There we go. I didn't give it a hand then, I just thought we'd see how easily it turns over. This bar over the top really helps it roll back over easily. Okay, let's do this. Again, I think I'd like a 45 tone motor. That might be the right answer here. It's a little fast for my liking. Now, as is often the case for problem 3, we've got to try a few lines till we find which one suits this vehicle. And it's also possible we won't find one that suits this vehicle. There's a hole down here, the back right is sitting in. That's actually quite difficult to overcome, especially if the vehicle is lightweight. Because getting traction when you've only got one wheel at the bottom doing the supporting, it's actually quite difficult. It's a tough problem, this. The reason I'm steering towards us there is I'm trying to bring it up and around. That may not be doable. We'll have a few more goes. Bumper still hasn't gotten in the way. I really thought it would. Nice. I'm liking this car so far. Hey. We're running out of options here. We'll try a frontal assault. I think we might need to have this back wheel actually up on the rock. Let's give that a go. Wait, Kookaburra went right past us then. He just about brushed my head as he went past. I don't know if you saw that on camera. I hope you did. I felt that on the side of my ear. I reckon birds can have fun. I mean, it's obvious with the ravens and crows that they're pretty smart. I reckon these kookaburras can too. Okay, this I think is the line for the Deadbolt. I think we'll have this now. I think. Even without a lot of speed. Oh yeah, got good clearance too. Good breakover angle on this. Oh, this is going to be a competition weapon with the right weighting. Woohoo! Problem 3. Alright, problem 4 is a tough one. If you're new to the channel, this guy here and that guy there, both of these rocks are really difficult. The transition from going between them is tough. I'm liking how light the Deadbolt is, and while it could use some down low weight and a slower motor, I think, its stock form is very capable already. We've done problems 1, 2 and 3. I'm looking forward to seeing how far we get on 4. This entry is difficult for a lot of lighter weight rigs. Traction can be quite tough to come by. One little trick I can impart to you is to think about where your 2 back wheels are when you're on a steep ascent. It's easy to focus on where those front wheels are aiming when you're trying to get a truck up over a problem. But a big factor here is also what your 2 back wheels are doing. Often you'll find if you can't get up over a problem, one of your back wheels will be in the air. It's not as light as some trucks. I should weigh it actually, but it feels light. That could be, I'm not sure what that could be. Oh, it's close, there we go. Now I'd like to reverse ever so slightly here. I don't want it to fall off. That's as slow as I can reverse. If this was a comp, every reverse would cost you. But it's worth it to line up straight. I'm barely touching that reverse. It's actually really hard to reverse cleanly. Oh, let's move the camera first. Whoa, and doesn't a different angle paint a different picture? That reverse is catching me out, honestly. I think we actually might need speed to conquer this. I want to try it slowly first, but speed might be the answer. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. Whoa, we're gonna have it. But oh man, that was actually really close in the end. We can do the rest of this cautiously and it'll be fine, because this is a really minor rock, so a really shallow angle. Alright, problem 4 done. Right, problem 5. Oh, very tidy. That's usually a difficult section, those two rocks, for most trucks. That was quite good. And then coming down off that and up into this section is also tough. I was talking about moving this bumper back, but we haven't touched at all yet. It has just not gotten in the way. That is most impressive. Let's change camera angles. Might try this angle for once. It's a new angle, same problem. We need to be higher up along there. I think we've got the clearance for it. Yeah. Or maybe not. I need it to reverse so slowly. That was tough. We need it to stay up high. Yeah. It's actually quite a fine line with this because it wants to topple. Because that back, as you might have seen when the camera was over there, that back left wheel, once it starts to climb, the whole vehicle shifts on the downhill side. We'll have this, but that was kind of sketchy. Look at that, got a wheel in the air. Alright, problem 5. Now we come to the big one. Alright, we've got problems 1 to 5 done. 6 is a tough one. I wasn't sure how the Deadbolt would do with the others, but we got there. Problems 3 and 4 had their issues, but we got there, and I think with a bit of practice we could get there more smoothly again. 6 is different to all the other problems. It's quite a challenging problem, this. The weight of the vehicle makes a difference, as does the center of gravity. 6 is very punishing if your center of gravity is too high. And there's a hole down here that the back right is going to fall into in a moment. That's really going to sort this vehicle out. Okay, now the servo, you'll notice, was strong enough to move the whole vehicle then. That's the 614 is nicely matched to this car while it stays relatively light. Ooh, that got close to rolling. It's a roll. We know we can get that far, so we'll bring him back in. Okay. I was expecting to have our other wheel in here, but it looks like we've got to stay further over that way to get up. To finish 6, we need to be all the way up on this rock. And I was talking before about center of gravity being punished on this problem. Poor old Deadbolt could use a bit more traction. I'd really like to see the Deadbolt do well here. I hope it does it. Yep, there we go, there we go. We're going to have this. I reckon we're going to have this. The breakover we know is pretty good. That's the angle to the skid plate. We have to come towards us and then back up and around, and I think we'll be right. I think. I'm just going to hold it there. Now. Well, that changes things, doesn't it? That angle. All we want to do is see it get traction. Hopefully without needing a lot of speed. The motor is actually cool. ESC is warm though. Servo, kind of warm. This thing performed like a champ. There's even hardly any scratching on the skid plate. There is quite a lot of rock rash on these links here though, and I can't help but think with their profile like this, they do kind of get in the way of getting over difficult rocks. There is some rock rash on the lower front links as well, so perhaps bent links front and rear could be helpful. Shimming the diff also I think would be an idea, since we had some grinding gears earlier. The servo is definitely up to the task. The other thing I'd change is maybe the motor changing to a 45 instead of a 35 turn. That'll reduce electronic stress on the speed controller, which is quite warm, because the higher turn motors draw less current. They also have less punch, less power, but you get a lower wheel speed. So you get longer battery life as well. And it would just be helpful with control, especially in reverse. The drag brake is easily good enough. It rolls over easily, like back onto its wheels easily enough, thanks to this extra heightened profile here. The plastics all feel very much like the original SCX10. Everything's kind of wibbly wobbly. But that's not actually necessarily a bad thing. Metal links are good, but there is definitely a place for plastic links. We did the first 5 problems. I mean, this is a straight axle. I didn't mention that earlier. It's a straight axle, not portals, which is good. Getting just some weights on the outside edges of the axles inside the wheels, that'd, I think, make all the difference, and it'd make the other 5 problems easier too. This is a good platform. Is the base camp worth the extra $50? For the metal shocks, the metal links, and the nice bumper and well, the nice front and rear bumpers? Not necessarily. You do get a 3rd channel on that radio, the SLT3. This is not a bad little radio. If you just want a basic unit that you can comp with, you could put that $50 towards customizing this, and you'd be ahead of the base camp. Even keeping your links plastic and just putting some weights on the outsides of the axles or metal wheels if you have to, and a high turn motor, you'd be good to go. You really would. Next video, we're going to come back, we're going to hit the problems again with some of these changes. Maybe I'll go up turns in the motor, or maybe I'll just put some weighted wheels on it, or weights down low or something. It doesn't need much to be very good. Axial's making good stuff at the moment. The Deadbolt is a good buy. And that's at just the recommended retail price of $339.99 US. That's on Axial's website. I don't know that the base camp's worth the extra unless you really like the body more than this. Otherwise, buy on preference, because performance-wise they're really similar. The base camp could do all 6, this almost can. Little changes and we'll have it too. So I hope you found this useful. Throw me a like if you got something out of it. Thank you for joining me for this one, and I'll catch you again soon on RC-TNT. Thanks for watching.